live. I gotta talk about this. Gotta talk about this. Gotta talk about this. You know, I kind of felt this for a very long time, and I've been through the mill with it myself personally. Um, I know many guys who have been, and I can talk about it from personal experience. Many of us black men throughout time, from slavery on up, have always been thrown on the bus, and this is real, by our own women for various reasons. You know, mostly bad reasons, mostly reasons for them to take advantage of their own things that they want to take advantage of, or to game up the system, um, or just want to use brother, you know. And I don't know anybody who's been played with more mentally and physically than black men. We put up a line, but that don't mean we should be taking a line. You know, I know personally, uh, I've been in clubs, whatever. I've been in churches and stuff like that. You know, going to meet women when I was single, and I've always had that one woman who always tried to take advantage of me. And the truth of it is, a lot of black women will try to take advantage of you. They think you're a nice guy. Right? Even if you ain't that nice for a guy, they try to take advantage. That's another whole story. But the thing of it is, they always. I've heard stories. I've talked to women about stuff like that all the time. Well, I'm looking for a good man. I'm looking for a good man who got a really six-figure job and all the other stuff. But yet, they bring nothing to the table. Talking about, I am the table. How are you the table if you ain't bringing nothing to it? No. Most of the men that you're looking for are the table, and you're not. You know? I've heard that story too many times. I had a woman ask me personally, well, do you got a light-skinned friend? Do he got, she likes fantasize. Literally in my face, do he got BMW and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, this was the girlfriend of a girl who I was talking to at the time. Like, really? And the fantasies are very delusional, you know. You got a lot of these women out here, they want the men making a certain amount of money. When you haven't even established a relationship with the guy, you're trying to establish monetary things before you establish the relationship. And I think that's what's wrong with a lot of our women today. They put the gifted horse in the mouth before the relationship. In other words, they put the monetary things up before anything else, before you even get started good. You know, you have to establish something first to see if you're even compatible before you even go to the next level. You know? But they always start out messing with the fun guys first. You know, and I talked about this before in my podcast. Y'all always start messing with the guys who you think is going to wine and dine and entertain you before you get with the guys who are really about the business of being there from their heart. See, when you was out there running the streets, doing your thing, you weren't about the heart. You weren't about that at all. You was about being entertained and wine and dine. You know, that's what it was about first before any and everything else. That's what tripped me out about y'all women. Y'all do everything backwards. And like Kevin Samuels used to say, God rest his soul, he used to say, marry before you carry. And y'all do it ass backwards. You know, and you get a good guy, or you want a good guy to help you take care of the kids after you have been with the guys, the fun guys, who, you know, toss the butter on you, and then dump you. Then you want the cleanup guy to come in there. And that's just so not fair, man. You know, you should have been setting the pattern from day one about the type of guy you wanted, that you gonna rock with, that you was gonna be about your heart from day one, not after the fact. Y'all do stuff backwards, and then you want somebody to clean it up for you, and then you got all these women. Oh, that's so nice. We got a man coming with the care about her kids. That ain't his. That's BS. That's complete BS. Hey, Ashley Beck, how you doing? Ben the Rizzler. I gotta understand. I'll let y'all know right now. I'll respond to you as I see you, man. But I'm kind of, you know, on the road right now. So, but yeah, it's crazy though. You know, I'm just talking from personal experience, because I had a woman. I'm trying to think of this woman I was dating one time, because I've had, you know, life experiences and stuff, and we were both 14, right? And then I found out she had a kid later on after I started dating her. 14 now, baby was barely a year old. And that was the worst date I ever had. One of my earlier dates, but it was the worst date I ever had. And we couldn't have fun because she had a kid with her when we were going out. 14, mind you. We were both 14. It was just weird experience. And I've dated a few women with kids. Never really been the most pleasant of experiences. You know. And I know somebody personally who dated a woman years later with a 3-year-old. And they went over to his parents' house, and I guess the father asked, you know, about their endeavors and stuff, and she said, I want to get me a house. See, she didn't say that they were going to look for a house or get a house. She said, I want to get me a house. To me, that was a trigger. That would be a trigger statement right there. Because when she said me, you wouldn't talk about the guy and the woman. You're talking about you and your son. See, automatic setup for them to be established. She didn't care about the guy. And the guy was a good guy. And he wasn't the baby daddy. See what I mean? Women do that all the time with guys. All the time. All right? And that's part of the problem. Y'all women want to establish everything before the marriage. And instead of you getting your life right, like Tamar said. One thing about Tamar Braxton I gotta give her credit for. I was just telling my wife last night, Tamar Braxton could come out with a new relationship show. For those of you who know Tammy, what's Tammy's last name? But anyway, you know Tammy was on The Real World, and was on Basketball Wives for years and all that, and did several television shows. It was on Miss Pat Show and a couple other series she did. I think she was on Relief, and she was on The Family Business. Tammy Roman. Well, Tammy Roman got a show she's had for 3 years called Caught in the Act, Unfaithful, on MTV. We just watched it last night. So of course they previewed the show of Tamar's new show. Now, before I get to that, now Tammy, messy as she been for decades. I've been watching her since 1991 with The Real World. You know, that's how she got the fame, and she shot the fame right behind that. She is actually the first, actually, as far as I'm concerned, the first real breakout star of reality TV was Tammy Roman. I'll give her all props to that. Before anybody else was doing it, Tammy was the first, and the most well-known, and the most famous of all of them. And she parlayed it into an acting career. But anyway, but even with her, when she was on Basketball Wives, what was the other chick name? What's that? Evelyn. Evelyn supposedly was messing around with Tammy's husband. Tammy accused her of that. It's on video. But it goes to show you how shady some women are. You know, and I guess her husband was doing modestly well, you know. But that's another story. But anyway, so Tamar got a new show is very similar too. But Tamar, I would say, get your life right. There's one thing I respect her for is that a lot of us never try to get our life right. We're too busy doing it the opposite way. And we got a lot of women in our community that do that, you know. But these are some of the same women who wonder why a lot of these guys marry women out of color. Because they dealt with that watching their moms doing shady stuff, you know. But then you got black women that marry out of color and they think it's a badge of honor. Look at Meghan Markle with Prince Harry. They bigged that up. And guess what? His family don't even accept her and Harry because of their marriage. Yeah. You know, they don't even accept her. That's why Prince and Harry had fallout. See, the media is not telling the whole story about that. The reason why Prince Harry has a fall with his family is not just because he had a fall with his family. He had a fall with his family because of Meghan Markle. He married her. He married color into the family. And you haven't actually seen any, I believe, I have never seen any pictures of her children. Not one. What's going on here, dude? People just driving stupid all over the damn place today, man. Wow, but yeah. They have no respect for her. But black women were the same women who ain't talked about the royal family dissing her, which they did. They dissed her. They don't want nothing to do with her at all. That's why they moved. That's why they moved. That's why they moved out of. That's why they never lived in the royal palace. They never will. But y'all hear no. But the media has kind of blocked it off to try to pretend like, oh well, they just had a fallout. They never really saying why, but that's the truth. The truth is because Meghan Markle is black. Okay, got black blood in her. So are kids. So what? Let's be real. Nobody's talking about that. But y'all black women ain't attacking the royal family for them biasing her though. See, y'all cherry a lot of our we have women in our culture who cherry picks certain situations or certain people. You know, it's a shame, man. And even in my relationships, you know, when women I've dated and stuff, I've had at least, well, I had a girl I dated when I was in high school. Pretty girl, man. I think she was part Asian and part Indian. I know she's black, but she was, you know, she had a little bit of she was part black, part Asian, part Indian. She was fine as hell, man. But her moms, I think, got jealous of the relationship I had with her at the time. We only was together about less than a year. And her mom tried to get at me. Real talk. She had no shame in the game, and I almost went for it because I was already 18 anyway. About to turn 19. And then I thought about it, nah. But I got saved by the bell because her older daughter and younger son came in there, came in the house right before we got to commencement. So, whew. Anyway, I wasn't that serious about it. I mean, I depends on what she really was trying to do, but I wasn't serious what she was going to do anyway. And thank goodness it never got that far. Not that her mother was bad looking. You know, she was thick just like the daughter was, but I'm just saying. But anyway, but that may not be so much about black women trying to throw black men on the bus, but it's a kind of an example of it though. Because she probably was gonna set me up and let them know that I slept with her, just so she could say, "Oh, you see what he did?" You know, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. You know, I watch somebody say people, you know, guys get subbed in the industry all the time by women, and that's true. It's been going on for decades. You know, and I've been in a situation where women, you know, will either try to throw me under the bus publicly, you know, or allow me straight up, and I confronted them with both. you know. But I'll be honest with you, you don't. I've had toxic relationships, and as soon as it got toxic, I got out of it. I got right out of it. I sure did. It was one girl I dated for 6 years, and it was very toxic. It was extremely toxic. It was so toxic it almost got me locked up. You know, for basically something I didn't actually do. True story. And I'm so glad I didn't follow through and stay in the relationship. It would have been the worst thing ever for me. You know, there's no doubt about that. I'm just glad I didn't stay in it. Sometimes it's not worth staying in a relationship, even if you got kids with a woman. But like Kevin used to say, marry before you carry. You know, but it's always the opposite. You know, and I kind of did that in a way. Relationship I've been now 34 years, married. You know, roughly around time that she carried, and you know everything's been good since, for the most part. You know, it's been a struggle. Marriage is a struggle itself, like anything else. But I was also watching, I think, was it last night? This morning, Michelle Obama. And so she's still throwing Barack under the bus. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. She back to doing the same mess she'd been doing before. Throwing my man Barack under the damn bus for no good reason. Boy, I was with him for 10 years and I couldn't stand him. Who does that? You are first lady. You're supposed to have some kind of decorum about you. An intelligent woman, highly educated, just like Barack was. And see, this is what I'm talking about. Even women who's supposed to be good, they do the same dirt. They do the same type of dirt. Yeah, they're susceptible to doing it too. But she also was a hood rat from Chicago too. So, you know, yeah, I said it. It's true. Couldn't take the hood out of her. You know, she's still throwing him under the bus. This guy, highly educated guy, highly intelligent brother. You know, dapper, and I don't have a problem saying it, good looking guy. Still wasn't enough for her ass. Let's keep it a buck. He still wasn't good enough for her. Yeah, Barack Obama, sharp dresser, sharp dude. You know, he matched her energy in terms of their educational skills and stuff like that. And he still wasn't good enough for her. Yeah. So the first 10 years she hated, couldn't stand him. Direct quote. Then what happened this past year? Jimmy Carter's funeral, Donald Trump's re-inauguration. She didn't show up either one. Carter funeral, she really should have showed up at. That's the one I'm really shocked about, because Carter really was about people. He really was. And Jimmy Carter personally was one of my favorite presidents at the time as a kid. I really admired him. My dad admired him. My dad, he wasn't into white people like that, but he loved Jimmy Carter because they're both from the South, and you know, both worked on farms, stuff like that. But we all, you know, I admire him so much, and I'm actually was shocked that she didn't show up at his funeral. Talking about scheduling conflicts. I was in Hawaii on vacations. Like, you couldn't go back to the vacation once you left the funeral. You was only gonna be there for a day. You know, I mean, you know, you got long money. You know, boy, I tell you, you know, it just. But she said, okay. She even said in this true story. She said, at least as far as I know, I believe I heard her say that she considered herself a single mother. Yeah, and that was when she was still first lady. She said that. Single mother now. You've been married to Barack like a number of years, and then when you're in the White House, you refer to yourself as a single mother. Who does that? But a black woman. You know, the most not regarding the fact he was the first African American president of the United States ever. You know, and you submit and the literally bashed him. I remember that was one of the first ones. The first comment she made when she bashed President Obama. Sure did. Prime example of that. And said other crazy stuff since then. And like somebody was pointing out, I've been watching her podcast. She ain't never had one good thing to say about Barack since she had that podcast, at least from what I've seen. Not one good thing. That's a damn shame. And Barack, if you notice, he talks about her in highest regards. He always has. He talk about her in the highest of regards. You ain't never heard Barack Obama bash Michelle. Not one damn time. I've never heard him do it. Never. You know. But something before Carter passed away, I noticed at the DNC last year, she coming up on stage, all looking all humpback and stuff, with a woman pants suit on. Not even looking the least attractive I've ever seen. Her ever. She really did. It's the least attractive she's ever looked. This is crazy. And I was like, oh my God, what did she do to herself? You know, that's the first thing I said. She looked, first time I can honestly say Michelle Obama looked very long in the tooth. That was the one time she really looked long in the tooth. She looked long in the tooth like a mug, man. She certainly did. I was like, oh my God. But these people understand that when you put on headlights in the middle of the highway with all these lights out here, you ain't helping your cause. Really not. Ain't nobody doing 100 miles out here. Now all this traffic about to slow down. But, you know, she just, I don't know. It was just weird. You know. And but anyway, what I'm saying is, jealous as I don't know what. You know. She tried to call, I think what she was trying to do was call herself being like the every common woman. The common everyday woman. I can identify with you, girlfriend. Yeah. But that ain't you, Michelle. That was never you. You know? But it just, I don't know. It's just, and she kind of felt like, oh, Barack, you know, it was all about him and this and other. Michelle. He was president of the United States. You didn't run for office. He did. You know, you're supposed to be a rider. And that's the part of the problem. See, at one time it was like that with black women. And one time, or maybe not every time. Most of the time, well, let's put it like this. There were some black women like that. But I think what it was with slavery, when they broke up families, you know, when they sold the kids separate from the parents and all of that, that's what I think embedded the mentality of single motherhoodship. I know that for a fact. It did. And it ingrained that mentality that, oh, I don't need no man. And they've been preaching it ever since. The unmelanated have been preaching it ever since. That's a known fact. Think about it. That's why that's why a lot of them don't even believe in marriage. There was one girl, and there's no joke. There was on a reality show. Now her dad was out there sowing his royal oats, but that's another whole story. I think he had got back with her mom or something like that. But yeah. But anyway, he got back with the mom. But actually, you know what? Let me take that back. The daughter didn't want to be married. I guess she saw, you know, because it was a bad example. He was a bad example of her as a father. I'll say that. But she in turn didn't make it any better for herself as a mother. And she wanted to be a single parent. She did not want to be married. She wanted to go out and have a test tube baby. Literally said that. And eventually I think she did. Yeah. What's the point of procreating if you're not trying to build a family structure? Just doing it just to be doing it, having these whoop babies left and right, for a purpose of your gratification of being able to collect child support. It's ridiculous, man. You know, I tried to talk to somebody about this a few years ago, and they were like, "Well, it takes two to tango." Yeah, it does. But the woman is always going to have a final say on whether she wants to keep the baby or not, regardless of what the man said. She's not going to listen to the man, and I'm talking about single or married. She's going to always have the final say. And this person didn't understand shit. Excuse my French. They didn't understand shit. You know, well, he got some say so. No, he don't have the final say. There's a difference between say so and the final say. The final say is going to be with the mother. You know, she ain't always agree with. That's why I said marry before you carry. You know, the one thing that Kevin Samuels always said, and that's true. You should always marry before you carry. Real talk, because it don't make no sense to bring a child in the world. You know, I mean, unless a certain circumstances, it don't make no sense to bring a child in the world without a mother and father in union. They don't. But you got to be the right type of parents too. You know, not perfect, but you got to be the right type of parents that's responsible for making sure that your kid have a safe, secure, healthy life. You know, you got a lot of these people out here just go ahead and have kids, don't care, and then they keep on having kids with guys and no commitment, without a care in the world, without a care in the freaking world. It happens all the time. You know, this is why we have so much problems out here in these streets today. Because you got too many women who like to go out there, party, BS, not be responsible, have kids out of wedlock. I'm not saying it's just them, you know, because guys should be responsible too. Guys should be responsible. Once that happens, you take care of the kids. You know? But really, the women has the final say so on it anyway. To be honest, they really do. They know that. You know? And they had the first say so. No, I'm not doing anything unless we get married. Unless we get married. No, I'm not getting pregnant unless we get married. You know? No, let's take it slow. You have the final say so on your own self. You know? Let's be real. But you don't take advantage of it. You just get pregnant and then blame the guy and say it's all his fault. You know? I don't know, folks, man. But I heard, and I don't know if this is true, I heard a rumor that Trump is going to cut back on benefits, welfare benefits. So some of y'all might be thinking twice before y'all do it anyway. If that is true, I don't know how true that is or won't be. You know. All right, guys, that's all I got. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's DJ Wolf.